Tony Robbins often says that the quality of your life is shaped by the quality of your emotions, and at the center of that emotional power lies a practice he calls priming. Every morning, before the world gets loud, before messages and responsibilities start to flood his mind, he gives himself a small window to take control of his thoughts, breath, and energy. The idea behind priming is simple: if you don't train your mind, the world will do it for you, and the world is rarely gentle. In this story, as the morning sun breaks across the horizon, Tony describes waking up with the same human challenges everyone faces: stress, uncertainty, fatigue, and the weight of expectations. But instead of letting these feelings hijack the day, he uses a ritual to interrupt the noise and replace it with clarity. He begins with deep, forceful breathing to wake the nervous system, imagining every inhale as fuel and every exhale as a release of yesterday's weight. This practice is not about perfection, it's about direction. It's about choosing what kind of emotional state you want to live in rather than being dragged by old patterns. As he breathes, his mind becomes sharper, his body more alive, his spirit more open. The process teaches him what he teaches others: when you master your internal world first, your external world follows. Next, Tony moves into the gratitude phase, which he considers the antidote to fear and anger. He often repeats that you cannot feel fear when you're grateful, and you cannot feel stress when your heart is full. Gratitude is not just a feeling, it's a neurological pattern that reshapes the brain. So he picks 3 moments he is deeply grateful for, and he doesn't just think about them, he relives them. He sees the colors, feels the air, hears the sounds, and recalls the emotion he felt during that memory. It might be the moment he first held his child, or a moment when a stranger's kindness reminded him of humanity, or a moment when he overcame something he once believed was impossible. As he dives into these memories, his heart begins to warm, his breathing slows, and his mind enters a state of appreciation. In this phase, the goal is not just to remember gratitude but to feel it, to let it fill the chest and pour through the body like light. This process rewires the brain to look for beauty, opportunity, and possibility rather than threat, fear, and scarcity. In a world filled with uncertainty, gratitude becomes a powerful anchor that keeps him connected to meaning and grounded in truth. After cultivating gratitude, Tony directs his attention toward healing and strength. He imagines a bright, powerful energy flowing through his body, repairing anything that feels tense or strained. This visualization is not just mental, it has a physiological impact. Research shows that mental imagery can influence the immune system, lower stress hormones, and create a measurable shift in the body. Tony imagines this energy expanding inside him, moving from his head to his heart to his stomach and then radiating outward like waves. He sees the energy as a cleansing force, clearing fear, dissolving doubt, and releasing emotional blockages stored deep within the subconscious. Then, in that same flow of energy, he sends it outward to the people he loves, family, friends, and even those he barely knows but wants to see protected and uplifted. This isn't magic, it's intention. It's the conscious act of caring, which strengthens emotional resilience and increases compassion. For Tony, priming is not only about preparing his own mind for the day but about tuning himself to contribution. Because when you think beyond yourself, your problems shrink, and your sense of purpose expands. With his state elevated and his heart open, Tony transitions into the final part of priming, envisioning the 3 most important goals he wants to achieve. But this is not just goal setting, it's emotional conditioning. He imagines the goals as if they are already achieved, seeing them in vivid detail, feeling the excitement, pride, and satisfaction of completion. Whether it's a business milestone, a personal improvement, or an impact he wants to create in someone's life, he brings the emotion of success into the present moment. Most people set goals based on desire. Tony trains his brain to experience them as memories before they happen. This creates a neurological map that the body follows, helping him make decisions that align with his future self. It's a form of mental rehearsal that Olympic athletes, world leaders, and peak performers use. By the time Tony finishes this visualization, he isn't hoping he will achieve the goal, his body already believes he has. That certainty fuels action, and repeated actions shape destiny. The mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one, so he uses that truth to prime his brain for victory long before the world sees the results. As the ritual continues, Tony shifts his breathing and posture to lock in the elevated state he has created. The power of physiology is central to his teachings. The way you move your body changes the way you think and feel. He sits tall, chest open, shoulders back, and breath steady. This physical alignment signals confidence to the brain, just as slumped posture signals defeat. Even without speaking a word, the body begins sending messages of strength, possibility, and readiness. Tony has trained himself to understand that mood is a decision, and that decision begins with the body. When he stands after the priming ritual, his feet feel grounded, his breath feels deeper, and his mind feels sharper. He walks differently, speaks differently, and approaches challenges differently. Priming is not about creating a perfect morning, it is about creating a powerful one. And when the state is strong, problems shrink, opportunities expand, and creativity unlocks. The ritual is not the source of the power, it is the gateway to the power that is already within him. Outside the ritual, Tony notices the difference. On days when he primes, he feels more patient with people, more present in conversations, more adaptable when things go wrong. He doesn't react impulsively to stress but responds with intention. His focus increases, his productivity rises, and his emotional resilience strengthens. It's not that life becomes easier, it's that he becomes stronger. The practice has taught him that the mind is like a muscle, if you train it daily, it becomes capable of extraordinary things. But if you leave it unattended, it becomes vulnerable to fear, doubt, and negativity. Through priming, he takes responsibility for his emotional direction rather than waiting for the world to shape it for him. This is why he encourages millions to adopt the ritual not as a rule, but as a gift to themselves. In a world that constantly demands your attention, priming gives you a moment to reclaim it. In a world that often pulls you toward stress, priming pulls you toward gratitude and power. There are mornings Tony wakes up tired or overwhelmed, mornings when priming feels like effort instead of empowerment. But it is on those mornings, he says, that the practice matters most. Those are the days when the world will try hardest to push you into chaos, and those are the days when taking control first thing becomes a lifeline. Priming becomes a reminder that you are not at the mercy of circumstances, you are the creator of your internal state. The ritual builds discipline, and discipline builds identity. When you consistently choose the stronger version of yourself, that version becomes your default. Tony credits priming for sharpening his intuition, deepening his relationships, and giving him the emotional fuel he needs to serve others at the highest level. The world sees his energy on stage, his passion in interviews, and his clarity in coaching, but the foundation of all that power is built quietly in the early morning, long before anyone else hears his voice. By the end of the practice, Tony steps into his day not as a man hoping things will go well but as a man prepared for whatever may come. His mind is grounded, his emotions are aligned, and his purpose is clear. Priming becomes not just a ritual but a life strategy, a way to live deliberately, think consciously, and love fully. And as he moves into the world, interacting with people, solving problems, and chasing dreams, he carries with him the strength he generated in those first 15 minutes. He believes that anyone, regardless of age, background, or circumstances, can transform their life by mastering their state each morning. It doesn't require money, talent, or luck, just consistency. The story of Tony's priming ritual is not about routines, it is about reclaiming power. Because the truth is simple, if you start your day in a beautiful state, you will make beautiful decisions. And if you make beautiful decisions, you will build a beautiful life. That is the promise of priming, and that is the habit Tony uses every day to boost his brain, elevate his heart, and shape the life he lives.